Just say no. It's a slogan that we all kind of heard when we were young, whether it was in middle school, elementary school, high school, as the people from the D.A.R.E program came in, the police officers, to try to tell us about how we shouldn't do drugs. Most people heard that, but I didn't personally. I was at a small Christian school and we didn't have those people come from D.A.R.E to tell us about drugs. So I didn't really know much about it until I was a senior in high school. So I thought it'd be interesting if I did my college project on this and about the effects of drugs on children and teens. My name is Tabitha Fanatop. I did this for BA201 and Professor Ebels. Just going over first, the things in the parentheses are the sites that I use, and they are the ones that are setting the information on the slides themselves. Just a little bit of history and purpose about D.A.R.E. D.A.R.E was created in 1983 by the Los Angeles County School District and the Los Angeles Police Department. Just Say No was the slogan that was used at the beginning, though it seems to be less used now, as we'll talk about later. D.A.R.E. itself, the program, was about 45 minutes to an hour long. There were 17 lessons in 17 weeks taught by the police officers. These police officers had 80 hours of training. It's a little bit similar to, it's very similar, sorry, to the KIR, the Keeping It Real program. That was the same as D.A.R.E, except it's used for teachers to teach the kids instead of the police officers to come in and teach the kids. By 1994, it was the most widely used drug prevention program in the United States and also used in 6 foreign countries, including Brazil. Questions that my report aims to answer are: 1, what is the history and purpose of D.A.R.E? 2, what are the methods that D.A.R.E is using to prevent child and teen drug use? 3, has D.A.R.E decreased child and teen drug use, or has drug use among children and teens increased in the last 40 years since the launching of D.A.R.E? 4, what are the effects of dangerous drug use on children and teens emotionally, physically, and socially? And is D.A.R.E a program that should be continued, discontinued, or revised? The first study that I did was Brazil's ProWord. ProWord is the D.A.R.E equivalent, but translated into Portuguese for the children of Brazil. They gathered information for this study in 3 ways. They did semi-structured interviews with the police officers that administered ProWord. They did focus groups with the students that were part of the ProWord program, and they also brought in researchers to see about the effectiveness of this program. What they realized is that the study was pretty ineffective in Brazil, mostly for the lack of cultural adaptation, as D.A.R.E was simply translated from English into Portuguese. The activities didn't seem to work, and especially as Brazil being a low to middle income country and the United States being a high income country, it just didn't match very well. The conclusion of the study is that ProWord should be restructured in order to be effective in Brazil. The second study that I looked into was the Minnesota D.A.R.E Plus project. There is one study about how they were going to conduct the study, and then the second is how the study actually went. The D.A.R.E Plus was an enhanced D.A.R.E program developed by researchers at the University of Minnesota, include parental involvement, teacher involvement, and the community involvement as well. So how they did this study was they picked 24 randomized groups. The first was D.A.R.E only was presented only to 7th grade boys. The second was this D.A.R.E Plus program was presented to 7th and 8th grade children, presented to all children, not just boys. And then the control group was not given any of this prevention program at all. There's a few things that the study notes. There is the public perception that it has a positive relation of children and the police, which is important in the last few years. The idea of creating a safety net where the community supports children as they may or may not struggle with drug use is an easier idea to conceptualize than to actually put into practice, as it really requires a ton of communication and effective messaging between the community, businesses, schools, children, etc. It also was actually hard for the researchers in Minnesota to find 24 random schools that would actually accept the terms of the study because of how popular D.A.R.E is. What the study found is that there was no significant difference between boys of the D.A.R.E only and the control group. So that leads us to believe that D.A.R.E is not really effective. However, in the 7th grade boys in the D.A.R.E Plus group, they were less likely to use tobacco, alcohol, or multiple drugs than those in either of the other groups. Girls in the D.A.R.E Plus group were less likely to report being drunk. Other than that, it didn't really affect girls very much. The effects of drug use on children are vast. There's a lot of different studies that I cited here, but also in my report, because there's a lot of different avenues that you can go with this. Talking about smoking levels and best friend influence. Smoking levels are affected by your best friend. So if your best friend smokes, you are more likely to smoke. However, in this study done about smoking, alcohol, and marijuana, it doesn't seem that there's a relationship between the three in the idea of influence. So if your friend smokes, that doesn't mean that you're more likely to do marijuana. There's another study done about men age 29, their income levels if they smoked in high school. It seems that if you smoked in high school, your income level is lower by the time you're 29. That could be because they smoked in high school and therefore they had less motivation in high school to do their work and to go to college, or they're smoking currently and that leads to less motivation in their current job, and that is not letting them get promotions or some more money. Mental health is a huge thing that we're still studying, of course, and drug courts are courts where if you were convicted of a felony or misdemeanor and you were addicted to drugs at the time, or you were under the influence of drugs at the time, you can be admitted to the drug courts that do some intense rehabilitation and actually have some good success rates. So we're hoping to have the youth get off of their drugs and become productive members of society. There's also some poor outcomes for students, including academic struggles, poor grades, and higher dropout rates. This is just a graph of the drug use from 1975 to 2005. The darker line is any illicit drug use, and then the lighter line is any illicit drug use but marijuana. So it seems that marijuana makes up a large part of this drug use is what the difference is here. This is 2005. It looks like it's about 23%, where the highest it got in probably 1977 was about 44%. So hopefully we're going down, but at the same time now marijuana is being legalized in more states, so it wouldn't be included in the illicit drug part of this. Some benefits and challenges of D.A.R.E and also changing D.A.R.E to a new program or revising it. Some of the benefits include community support and trained police officers. The community does support D.A.R.E a lot. There's a lot of positive public perception about D.A.R.E, and the police officers are already trained and able to continue to present the D.A.R.E information to students every year. The cost of changing D.A.R.E would be quite a bit, but the cost of keeping it the same isn't anything. So for them to continue to fund D.A.R.E obviously would cost money, but to change D.A.R.E would cost money, so not changing it doesn't cost any money. There is a positive relationship seen between police and children as the police come in and teach them about children to not do drugs. So that's a benefit that people seem to see a lot, especially in the D.A.R.E program. Some of the challenges is, especially at the beginning, there's a big lack of effectiveness about D.A.R.E. From the studies and just from the general perception, it seems that people think that D.A.R.E is effective, but it doesn't really actually prove to be. There's going to be a huge cost of updating D.A.R.E both with the research and also the campaigns to the public about the positive new D.A.R.E program, but also just about replacing all of this information, especially if we need to retrain all of the police officers and teachers in the Keep It Real program to this new program. Some people might be concerned about the introduction of drugs too easily, especially parents, if they don't want their children to know about drugs in the 3rd grade, but looks like they're already going to be taught because of the D.A.R.E program. The Just Say No slogan that was used at the beginning seems to be too simplified, especially thinking about the effects of mental health on students and the peer pressure and societal pressure. Maybe drugs help with depression and anxiety, or students think they will and they get addicted to them. So it seems to be Just Say No is not quite as simple as that. Finally, my recommendations about this study are that we should do some more extensive research on D.A.R.E and D.A.R.E+. We should begin campaigns to the public about D.A.R.E to get some public support so that we can start implementing a more effective version of D.A.R.E. We're going to revise D.A.R.E also to be culturally appropriate, not only for Brazil and the other foreign countries that use the D.A.R.E program, but also just within the United States, and update it to the curriculum of today as it is 2025, and that was in 1983, which was a long time ago. We're going to update D.A.R.E as well. I recommend that we update D.A.R.E as well to resemble the D.A.R.E+ of Minnesota, as it has proven to be somewhat effective. As of right now, it seems to be better than D.A.R.E, which is not really proven to be effective at all. Also continue to assess the drug use of children as states legalize marijuana, and also as more children are doing drugs, and the children that did drugs in the past have grown older and how it affects them as they grow older as well. Thank you for listening to my speech. I hope that you enjoyed it.